Well, that's right. Welcome in, welcome back, folks, to a Work It Out Wednesday. We got a wide range of Notre Dame related topics. Happy to be here. Happy to have you here. I hate calling it hump day. It just seems weird when people, happy hump day. I just feel weird saying it. And I feel like everybody who says that is like knows that they're saying something like innocent, but it comes off weird. So I don't like that. It's always made me weird. Even as a little kid, I was like, I don't know about that. Doesn't sound right. Happy to be here. Happy to have you here. All of you fine people ready to discuss some Notre Dame. I'm going to tell you this right now. You guys are good, man. This chat, a lot of times, you guys have nailed a bunch of the stuff that I'm thinking about, that I want to talk about, that I want to hit on, that I've been thinking about. You guys are nailing a bunch of them in the chat. So thank you very much. Phone lines are open, 312-900-8815. I have a few topics I want to briefly go over and throw them out to the crowd. If anybody wants to call about it, you want to chat about it, we could do whatever you want to do on a Work It Out Wednesday. So obviously, thank you for being here. You can find a program on YouTube. Do hit subscribe if you haven't yet. If you're here watching, you may as well give a thumbs up. I mean, you're already here, so why not do it? Notifications on, you know why. That way you're alerted every time a new episode drops. You don't want to miss it. Twitter, search bar, always Irish Rat. Always Irish Inc. Emails, always Irish Andy at gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want me, you could get me. Call-in line, we already went over it. You know the deal. 312-900-8815. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Fighting Irish Wire. You type them letters in the computer box. Information about Notre Dame football happens to come out. It's a magical thing. I got to tell you that. So here's where we're going to start. I got a few topics here. And I'm going to throw them out briefly now to get them out in the ether for the show. And then we'll get more into them as we go along. Okay, so here's three topics. One is Notre Dame and NBC in negotiations, okay, about what's going to happen with Notre Dame's contract when it is up soon. It's reported that in these negotiations, Notre Dame's asking for, wait for it, $75 million a year. That would be up from the current contract that's slated for $15 million a year. It is backloaded. We're on the back end of it. So Notre Dame's now looking at around $22 million a year. So they're asking for an increase from 22 to 75. And I see people debating if that's realistic or not. Where do you come up with that number? The answer to that's very easy. So we'll get into that. Number two is Chansi Stuckey has to get paid and stick around Notre Dame. He does. You got to figure out a way. The guy came in here with the toughest assistant job of anybody when Freeman took over in a position group that was way behind, not even being just like mediocre. Like they were way, way, way in a hole. And what the guy's done in under 2 years on that roster in that position group is absolutely fantastic. So you gotta figure out to what. I'm already mad and it hasn't even happened yet. Keep the guy in the building. It hasn't even happened yet and I'm mad about it. Keep him in the building. I'm sick of Notre Dame fans bragging that we don't win anything and our great coaches go somewhere else. Like it's a badge of honor. It's a badge of honor. If you have good coaches, you win with them and everybody else wants them. It isn't that big of a brag point when you have the good coaches, you can't win with them, and then they all go somewhere else. It's cute early on to talk about that, I guess. Can we move past that? How about you win something with your good coaches and then everybody else wants them? Can we try that path? Like I said, going to be a calm Wednesday. Good morning. I'm sorry. I'm sick of hearing it like it's a badge of honor that our good coaches leave and I don't have no trophies to show for it. Oh, guys leave off Alabama and Georgia's staff every year. Yeah, and they also have trophies in the case. It hits different. It hits different when you lose your good coordinators, but you got something out of it that's called a trophy. Pay the man. Number 3. Sorry about that. I know it's early in the morning, but you know how I am. Once I get going on something. Number 3 is the tough roster question that I posed. I believe that was my show yesterday that I posed. Pritchett put out from his Twitter account a question saying, what is the biggest loss for Notre Dame's offense? Is it Tommy Rees, Buckner, or Diggs? And we went over the debate, and it was like a chart where you could pick, or a graph where you could pick. And I went over that. I want to know where you guys fall on that too. Let me know who the biggest loss is between Rees, Buckner, or Diggs. My short answer was, I want it to be nobody, but it's an impossible question to answer unless I know Hartman's health status. The answer ain't going to be Rees. I can tell you that. If Hartman stays healthy, losing Buckner isn't that big of a deal for 23. We could debate 24, but for 23, if Hartman stays upright, we're going to be fine. And then Diggs, it's one of the deepest position groups in the team. I'm not saying I didn't like what he did, but the whole Notre Dame offense isn't collapsing because that guy's not there this year. I got news for you. So I want to know what you guys think of that. I want the answer to be nobody, meaning Hartman is efficient and really good at what he does. And that helps Parker look really good at what he's doing. So you have that going. And if he stays healthy, and then these running backs, you have Estime and these younger guys I think are ready to explode on the scene. Now you're cooking. Now you're cooking. I like that. I like that. So let me know what you think about that. Now, I'm going to get into some of these topics in a little more depth, but let's go through the introductions, and a bunch of people had good chats we could cover as well. Phone line again, folks, 312-900-8815 if you want to chime in on anything. It's funny. So it's weird. Certain days people are real chatty, and then other days there's not as many calls, and I don't know if it's purely availability, day of the week. Sometimes like on a Monday, I'm like, oh, it'll be a slow call day. But I think stuff happens over the weekend and people get all worked up about it and then they want to call. It's just an imperfect science being able to predict that. But the phone lines are open. Shoot anywhere you want. Anywhere you want to go. We're into the off season now. It could be, any of the under the umbrella of the topics that I just mentioned, but really it's open phone lines. And also I'm playing with the idea of doing something else this weekend in the evening. So for those of you that did like that format, I'm trying to work on something, maybe even with a little a new twist. We'll see how it goes. All right, let's do some chats. Always Irish Senior in the house. Always good to have your pops nearby. Now that Rees is gone, I hope to see an offense with some rhythm, the passing game and running game work off each other. Maybe now this team can really do their blanket job, Tommy. Go Irish. That's a good one by my dad. Go figure. Where's some of that humor there? Taking a little shot. Not even a shot. It was hilarious when Rees said that. And really, it was one of the things I liked the most about the spring game and what Hartman did. What was he? 13 to 16, almost just under 200 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 running in. I'm not worried about those numbers. I admitted I didn't expect so much efficiency in a blue and gold game, 13 to 16. Even on the high end of what I was hoping to see out of Hartman, I didn't quite expect it to be that sharp with divided up first teams and all of that. But it was pretty sharp. But the number one thing I liked, I put a short out on it last night, actually, the way he ran the offense. It just looked, with half the ones, it looked like he was the maestro out there, directing traffic, getting guys where they have to be, getting in and out of calls. It looked like it had rhythm. It looked like one play naturally led into the next. It didn't look like we were walking around going, I don't know what to do. I don't know where you're supposed to be. The play clock's running down to snap the ball. And what are we going to do? And who's going to do what? You didn't have that. It was really, really nice to feel like I was seeing an upperclassman guy run things, and he just wasn't overwhelmed, and everything just kind of ran smooth. And I know he was going against half of one defense, but he was also doing what he was doing with half the one offense. Half the one's offense. That was my favorite thing, is watching that rhythm and flow, and I want to see it grow. So I like that. Top of the morning to the Always Irish clan, that's for sure. Here we go. T-Rex. Always Irish Senior, good morning. I believe we'll see much more rhythm with this new offense. 40 plus a game. The defense may even improve. The floor is 11-1. Woo, baby. Man, all right. So let's look at this. You see the same thing that I do, T-Rex. And this offense having more rhythm and all that and more flow. And Notre Dame's been lacking that for so long. I'm beyond excited to see that feature in the offense. Here's the other thing. 40 plus a game, like that might seem like it's asking for a lot. Let's see what this Notre Dame team could do. And then, of course, you're going to pile some up against some bad teams, and that's going to balance out your average scoring in a year. That's very natural. But here's the other side of the offense scoring more points and where the defense comes in. I talk about being a little nervous about the defense, and it could be good, but there's a lot of unknowns, and I can't bank on unknowns because that's just emotion. I can't do it. You're emotionally setting yourself up for misery if you just blindly say everything's okay, convince yourself everything's okay, and then it's not. I don't do that. I'm open to the pain, all right? I am open to the pain and the idea that this defense may struggle a little bit, okay? Here's the deal, though. If you got an offense that's scoring another touchdown a game than it did last year, 8 or 9 points difference, whatever you think that bump might be from whatever we're going to have going on this year in the offense, Hartman first and foremost. If you believe we're going to score more points, the defense just got more margin for error to be able to give up plays, and Notre Dame wins. That's how I look at this. Now, let's take that a full step further. I'm going to blow your mind. Even if Notre Dame, whatever that point total is going to be more than what it was last year, it better be. It most definitely better be a higher point average than last year. Here's the other part. Even if there's drives where they're not putting up points, but they're eating up a bunch of the clock, they're not going 3 and out. How many Notre Dame drives recently have you seen the last handful of years where we get the ball and there's no rhythm and flow, and it's 3 clunky, chunky, mistimed, misblocked, out of rhythm, no rhythm plays, and you go 3 and out, and that defense, those guys didn't even get to have a drink of Gatorade, and they're back out there on their heels. How many times have you seen that from Notre Dame offenses recently? A lot of times that defense will fight for us and do the ultimate bend but don't break, get us the ball back, and then you go 3 and out with 3 clunky plays. 1 minute and the defense is back out there. So if you could do this where that offense improves, the defense improves no matter what. Even if the physical, actual defense takes a little step back, some of that could be masked by scoring more points and holding the ball longer. And it's something I've been thinking about this year that could help Notre Dame a lot. Here we go. Always Irish Senior. I hope so. It's hard to be that confident after watching the recent. But 11-1 would help John's hairline. What do you think? It's going to grow back? It ain't going to grow back, Dad. Here's what pisses me off. I'm going to tell you this right now. This pisses me off. My dad's had the exact same hairline my whole life. It's changed a little bit. He's got the same hairdo my whole life. And here I am, day by day. They just fall out. Kelly's here, my hair falls out. Reese is here, my hair falls out. It makes me mad. My dad's had the same hairdo my whole life, and it still looks sharp on you. I'll pull a Caddyshack. It looks good on you, though. He's got the same do my whole life. I'm over here melting away. Thanks for checking in, Dad. That's what I meant to say. Oh my God. The things that I yell about, you never know. You never know. Welcome into football's most unpredictable show, because where it's going to go, neither you or I know. You never know what I'm going to yell at. That's the beautiful part. It can just pop up at any time. Anytime. Eric, good morning to you, sir. I'm heading to the East Lansing courthouse soon. Well, I'm glad I know you're the lawyer and not the defendant. Let's put it that way, Eric. It gives me a lot of comfort to know my chatters are going to the courthouse as the lawyer and not the bad guy. I love you for that. Catch you on replay. P.S. John, should we give Pat a breathalyzer before you start the show? Young Patrick has learned his lesson on that one. That's all I'm going to say. Young Patrick has learned his lesson on that one, and we're just going to leave it at that. Okay, we're just going to leave it at that. Oh, man. Paul Conley, we got a $5 holler, and I appreciate it very much. Good morning to you, John the Great. Well, I'm not sure about that, but I'll certainly take it. Looks like recruiting is going well with 12 commits for 2024. I did see that. Notre Dame is moving up in the 24 rankings. I believe Michigan number 1, Ohio State number 2, something like that still. The issue is, I believe nothing with recruiting till they sign on the paper. Last year was it. It's like, I'm sorry. We will talk about it when we get commits. We will be happy that means Notre Dame's a leader in these guys' clubhouse. I'm done. Last year was it. I'm done. I'm not looking at these verbals and going, oh, these are the guys playing for Notre Dame, blah, 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 blah. This isn't 30 years ago. It's a different ball game, a different world, one that's passed me up in a lot of ways, where I guess I'm an old guy. Let me go over this in your head. Tell me if I'm the one that's nuts. I'm the old guy and I'm the one out of touch because I think a commitment means that you're committed. So maybe I'm the dummy and I'm the idiot. But when I grew up, being committed means I'm not looking around anywhere else, whether it's a girlfriend, a job, or football. Now a commitment means nothing. It means your name's on a digital list under the Notre Dame helmet for now. So I ain't buying into it. I'm not buying into it. I'm thrilled that we're getting these guys, and 24 looks good. But if you think for 1 second I'm doing what I did last summer, when I sit here like a clown in my basement, drooling over the 247 rankings because Notre Dame's number 1, you're out of your mind. I'm not doing it again. All last summer, I'd log out. You need to feel better about yourself today, John. Pull up the 247, Notre Dame, number one. Then it was number 3, number 5, number 5. Signing day comes, I had to keep scrolling. I'm not doing it again. Let me know when they sign. Commitment. Yeah, I committed to my wife. I'm also on Tinder, swiping right or left, whichever one means I want you. I don't know, right or left, whichever one. I'm swiping, but I'm committed. I apologize for the energy today. I didn't expect this unless you guys want it. Just happened. It just happened. Always Irish Cedar, how are you, bro? Drunk? Good to see you, drunk. Jay Lehman. Look at Jay. He's reading my mind ahead of time. 707 on the phones. I'm coming right to you. I love these commits, but refuse to get excited until they enroll. That is an emotionally intelligent and responsible approach, Jay. From a very practical guy. Makes perfect sense. It hurts me, man. It hurts me. Having those guys committed so long and it didn't work out. And it had to be the very, very top guys. It wasn't even just like mid-level guys in the class. It was the very top. It's hard to close that gap. Notre Dame people, we talk about, we're obsessed with the gap. How are we going to... We're obsessed with that. How are you going to close the gap between you and all these top-level teams? Well, you got to land your top guys is number 1. Yeah, development. I know that, but you got to have your top guys, man. You're going to be an uphill battle if you don't land your top guys. Here we go. I can always rely on this. I got something for you, Domer88. I love that logo, by the way, in your avatar, Irish Nation. Let's paint the house to rock-built green on September 23rd. No more red takeovers. Go Irish. Domer Guy 88, you have requested this of me, and I have acquiesced. So, in the upcoming days, there is going to be a video and then a couple of shorts coming out about this exact topic. And Domer 88, I think you're going to appreciate the message coming from the Always Irish channel. But I really took your request seriously, asking about doing a show about the red takeovers and some of that. And so I got a couple things planned for that. And I think it'll make you happy. You've been asking about it. Here we go. Do you think ND's $75 million TV evaluation is practical? Here's the thing. When you're trying to ask yourself how they came up with that number, here's what I think this is about. I think everybody knows Notre Dame wants to maintain its independence. I think most people want to maintain their Notre Dame's independence if it doesn't prohibit Notre Dame from having a fair access to the playoff. And with the expanded 12-team format, I don't think that's a big issue. Notre Dame will have a bigger leeway to get in, not have to be 12-0, 11-1, 10-2 probably. You don't get the bye being an Indy, but you could be in it to win it, okay? Access is one thing that had to do with Notre Dame staying independent or joining a conference. Access to the postseason. Seems like that hurdle has been cleared. I don't like not being able to get the bye, but whatever. Like, okay, there's a give and a take there. But part two of Notre Dame remaining independent has to do with financials. And what I mean by that is there cannot be a world where Notre Dame football succeeds and exists where it's making $22 million a year and Rutgers is making $90 million a year just because they're in the Big Ten. If you're asking where that number comes from, it's because Notre Dame knows the numbers that are going to come out of the SEC deal and the Big Ten deal. And they know they got to be able to compete. It doesn't have to be $90 million like what the Big Ten payout's going to be. But it cannot be a gap of 25 to 90. You stack a few years of that up, Notre Dame's behind forever. Notre Dame's behind forever. Done. Shut it all down. I am not kidding. Notre Dame cannot afford to fall $100 million behind these teams, $200 million in 2 years, $300 million. You're dead. You are dead when teams like Rutgers is getting $90 million and you're getting 20, and you got a booth of NBC that's whispering and has no balls and no one cares. That's where the number comes from. They're trying to get into ballpark of the Big Ten deal. That's where the number comes from. I'm telling you, that's where that number's coming from. Can they get it? I don't know. Do they have to stack programming with the Big Ten and make a blended deal with the shoulder programming they're talking about? I don't know what you need to do. But if it comes down to the fact that NBC doesn't want to acquiesce to Notre Dame or negotiate that much, you think I'm going to cry about it? What do you miss? Is the NBC product that awesome to you now with the booth with anybody cares about in it, making Notre Dame games sound like a big deal's going on? I got a star announcer's kid announcing is what I got. Give me a break. And I didn't even get to, you want to watch this real Notre Dame game? No, you can't turn it on TV. Go get an app and watch the Circle Peacock run in place for a half hour on delay. Give me a break. So if we have to leave NBC, doesn't bother me at all because that product is a second-class citizen stepchild product to NBC. It is. You can tell by how they treat us. So I'm ready to be done with it whenever. Figure out a good deal. Oh, boy. Off the rails today. Andrew Gilmore, there's little doubt in my mind ND will bring in a senior transfer again at QB after the season to compete against Minchie in 24. This will especially happen if Hartman is successful. I've been thinking about this a lot. I think in an ideal world, when you get to 24, 707, I got you. I'm sorry. I wanted to get through these early chats. I've been thinking about this. In an ideal world, Hartman stays healthy in 23. Notre Dame has a very successful season in 23. Then Year 2, Minchie's ready to compete physically and mentally. And then Carr comes in off the street. You got to count it kind of as an unknown known when a guy comes in and as a freshman, you don't really know what you got. And you got to hope he's big and strong and mentally there, and then he could push it all. That would be an ideal world. I do not want Notre Dame to keep going down this grad transfer quarterback path just for instability reasons and building reasons. However, it's going to work out for Notre Dame this year. Like, I feel good about it this year, but is there a Sam Hartman again? Notre Dame's going to get a guy at that level again next year to give those quarterbacks a bridge to be able to develop a year, not burn a year of Carr as a freshman, let him learn and beef up and get adjusted to Notre Dame? I don't know, but I'm still holding to this. I think long-term Notre Dame's most stable path for the program is, I keep saying this, hitching your wagon to a high upside young guy, learning through the mistakes, building and growing a team together with all these young wide receivers that are coming in, the skill, talent. Pair that with one of these quarterbacks, grow together, and there's going to be some learning pains, but you come out on the other side, great. You come out great. But there is risk. If you force Minchie or Carr to play before they're ready, there is risk. Not only in terms of, losing some of those games in that moment and in that year, but also the risk of those guys losing their confidence, being young and it's overwhelming and they're getting crushed out there and the game's moving too fast. So that is a feel thing. Biaggi, whoever's involved with that, Parker, Freeman, Biaggi, whoever, you got to have a pulse on that. But I'm ready for Notre Dame to be done with the transfer thing if they feel they can go with the young guy and not tank, I guess is what I'm saying. But it's something I've been thinking about. Really, really good good thought there. Drunk, what's up, Drunk? Pat, good morning. Not Pat Cotter, different Pat. Morning, John, and always Irish fam. Happy Wednesday. Let's see what Anders says here. It's interesting that the 75 mil number is getting floated around. Someone's trying to negotiate in public. I'm guessing it's NBC. They don't want to pay that number. Well, the hell with them then. I don't care. The product is not good that we get. I have no allegiance to NBC other than it's just been Channel 5 and I know where to find the games my whole life. I'm sorry. They do not treat the Notre Dame product as a premium product. Proof of that is that they have an amateur hour booth. They make you use an app for real Notre Dame games. That just seems like something you do for a junior college baseball team in their regional playoffs, and you stream it online so people can see it at work. It doesn't scream Notre Dame is big time to go to the Peacock app and hope that it buffers. Buff my head out. Give me a freaking break. Man alive. Oh, boy. Unbelievable. What do we have here? C. Jones. John, I need your help. Yeah, that's what I'm here for, to help people. I might make things worse. I don't know anymore. Please stop me from thinking what ND's 23 season will look like if Hartman goes down. Praying he stays healthy. Bro, I don't know how else to say this. Crossing your fingers and praying is the only answer right now. For that dynamic, it's the only answer. I'm telling you, Angeli or Minchie, making Minchie play early or whatever. This is going to be last year all over again, and I am not here for it. That would be a 2-year delay in Marcus Freeman's actual start of all this. And that would be an absolute kick to the face. You got to keep that guy in one piece, man. You absolutely have to. All right, we got a bunch more chats. I'm going to stop it right where I am so I could go back and read them. And super chats. I'm going to get to them, but I've been making 707 wait. Good morning. You're on the air, my friend.
Good morning, John. Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with, I was with the grooming of these younger kids and trying to go about it that way. But
it's hard.
I think when your team, it dictates that you need to go into that portal, you have to. And I see that happening next year because I don't think Minchie's going to be ready
next
year because he's not going to play this year. And CJ Carr is going to be coming in as a freshman.
All right,
so
let me
he
ask you
won't be
this.
ready.
Let me ask you this. Do we know for certain that Angeli's the backup to Hartman? And like, there's not a discussion, or we're not going to shift that quarterback competition we were all obsessed about down to the number 2 job now and see, or are they really set on preserving Minchie's red shirt 4 games or less, and it's going to be Angeli, and we just pray we don't need it? Are we sure about that?
Yeah, I mean, no one knows about injuries, what might happen, and will be forced to play Angeli. And he kind of reminds me of a Rick Meyer type. Like he wasn't really great, but he got it done. He was sufficient to have the players around him make him, successful. So
yeah,
that's the kind of take I get from Angeli.
You know what's interesting?
That's a pretty big compliment.
With Minchie, depending on who you speak with, there are certain people really high on Minchie and think that if he was showcased as the guy, and they really push it, that his upside with his motion and the way he releases and everything, that there's a lot there. Sometimes I feel like he gets lost because we're all looking at the shiny new car and he gets kind of glossed over. But you're going to need those guys to compete and figure this out. It's just a matter of if it could be 24 or if we need to bounce out. And then the other thing, like you said, if you need to go that way to be responsible for your team and not drown a young guy that's not ready yet, you have to do it. But it's also got to be the right guy. It can't just be a body just because he's had a few years of experience. Like if it's Hartman, that level, nobody's going to complain. But I just don't know what the odds are Notre Dame's going to be able to pull that up back-to-back years. So who it is actually matters to me too, because I got to know they're demonstrably going to come in with the higher floor than I'm going to get from these guys if I play them young. Or am I thinking of that the wrong way?
No, I think you're right. I mean, it's pretty rare when you can get a guy like Hartman available because, we saw Jack Cohn come in and he was really a very average quarterback. And I would take my chances with Angeli or Minchie instead of going with a guy like Cohn. Like he wasn't bad, but he just was, he was an Ian Book. He was a, Tommy Reed.
But see, here's the issue. The issue is if you're doing what they did with Cohn, you got to feel like this is the team that can make it. It's one and done. And because there's no development or anything. You're getting what you're getting and then we're moving on. And it's just, he was like a statue, but you kind of needed it. Like, I don't know, man. It was just tough. Can I ask you, are we underestimating Angeli? I don't know that much about him compared to all we hear about Carr and Minchie. I don't want to degrade him irresponsibly. I just never hear nothing about it, good or bad, and I don't know what to make of that. Do you have more insight on him?
Well, I just downloaded, or YouTube put up the Blue Gold game finally, I think yesterday or the day before. So I only got to watch like the first series of each, Buckner and then him. So, I don't really know about Angeli yet. I can't evaluate him from what I haven't seen yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he did. I think you have to next year go into the portal and get somebody that, if they have good value, like a Hartman. But if it's a Cohn, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. You got to navigate this right too, because the one thing that you can't do that'll derail a lot of this, especially if there's momentum after a strong year next year, which we all hope for, you just can't ruin these young guys, and you can't put them out there and get them killed or anything. Like, you have to do this right. You have to time it up right so you get maximum output.
But the thing is, if you don't play them, they're going to leave. So, you have to make a commitment. Like, CJ Carr, I'm hoping will play by his sophomore year, because if you don't, he'll be gone.
Yeah.
And so you have to look at it like, if you want to groom these kids, then you have to play them.
Yeah.
You just have to, because they're going to leave if you don't. If you keep going portal, they're going to say, okay, here's what I'm doing. I'm getting all this, playing the opposing team's quarterback for a year and a half or 2 years, and then they bring somebody else in. So you got to just make the commitment that if you are not going to get a guy out of the portal, you got to play these young kids and throw them into the fire.
Man, that's a really good point.
In every position.
But that's a really, really good point. This is a new age problem. It's a new age consideration these coaches have to worry about is depending on, like, you could end up where if you were in a good quarterback position, it actually screws you long term because then you recruit good, but then you have a good guy playing and then that guy knows he's not going to play. There's always another Power 5 team saying, we'll give you, you could be the starter. Like, that's dangerous. These coaches got to navigate that. This playing time, red shirts, like it's a whole new world. These college coaches have more to worry about now than they ever did before. It's a rough job now. It is year-round worry every day about everything. I'm serious. It's a rough job.
And that's really where the coaching comes into play. You know, like having Gaduli there to be a quarterback coach is going to be helpful to, if they don't go portal, you know, developing Minchie and Jelly and Carr. I mean, this is, but you know, how long is Gaduli going to stay? I don't know.
Yeah.
But you know, you have to just, if you're going to not do the portal and next year, and I'm specifically talking about next year because we're going to see the same thing exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's got to be a guy that's worth it that wants to come. Like, remember, Drake May was all the talk that he might go to Notre Dame. That would have been great. But we got Hartman, so that was pretty great too. So from what I'm seeing, like, you know, he does look good. And he and Jaden Thomas look like they're going to have chemistry this year. That's going to be great.
Yeah,
and then you have that kid Greathouse who caught, you know, I saw one catch and he caught like 10 more apparently. So,
hey, what do you make of the job Chansi Stuckey's doing? He inherited what I've been on record saying was the toughest assistant job when Freeman took over because of the deep, deep hole in terms of depth and top line skill in the wide receiver room, combined with the challenges of the quarterback position all last year. That guy's done a great job. He's done a really good job. I couldn't ask for a wide receiver guy to come in here and fix that group, I don't think, quicker 1 year into the second year than he's doing. He's doing a great job. I'm already preparing my stroke for if he leaves and somebody else pays him. When you got a guy doing that at a position that's been a frustration for Notre Dame, pay that man to be the offensive right-hand guy to Freeman and let him do this. He's doing a great job. What do you make of it?
Yeah, he is. I mean, I think that's what, you know, sort of limited Cohn's ability to be successful, you know, in a bigger way, was that they had no receivers when he played. So, you know, they had some, but, you know, they just weren't a threat. So he made the most of what he could with that. And it just wasn't enough. So, you know, Stuckey coming in and getting these great kids out of Texas and Georgia, you know, this is what you have to do. So he's done it.
Yeah.
So you're right. They got to pay him and they got to pay Gaduli. I want him to stay because I think that he really has a good head about him as a player and a coach.
Hey,
and
you know what else too? Hey, listen to this. I might take some heat for this because I know a lot of people here are going to be Reese apologists until they die. I'm excited to see this new quarterback coach work with our quarterbacks. Maybe we might actually see guys get better the longer they play here instead of have their numbers go down. Wouldn't that be a modern luxury that the longer a starting quarterback's here, the numbers get better, not worse? Maybe we could see that for once.
Well, this year is definitely we're going to see it. I mean, Hartman's too good not to see it, I think.
That's what I think too.
I'm just really impressed with his ability to, you know, come in here. When did he sign? Like January, and he seems like the playbook's understood. The connections with Jaden Thomas is really good. And now he's using a freshman that they threw. The kid caught 11 passes. If he's not in the starting lineup this year, you know, I'm going to be pissed off.
Yeah. And you know what else helps too? You know what? Bringing in this wide receiver talent. I know there are many considerations for offensive players where they want to go, and quarterbacks especially. You can't tell me that if I'm a high school quarterback looking at my options, I want to go somewhere where I know I have dudes I could throw to that could get open and make me look good. That helps the whole operation both ways. The wide receivers want to play with a good quarterback, and the good quarterbacks want to play with good wide receivers. If Notre Dame could get on that track and plane in both of those areas, that's a big plus. And it's something we haven't had in a long time. Might make things a whole hell of a lot easier. We're just not used to doing it that way. I'm hoping for that.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that Stuckey got these young freshmen committed before they even got Hartman. So that says a lot about Stuckey too. I mean, he brought in some really good talent without having a quarterback really that you're going to sell these kids on, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. It just all needs to be navigated with tact. And Freeman they have to have a plan. Here's how I look at this. They got to have a plan with those young guys, Minchie and Carr specifically. And then here's how I would look at this. Here, I would look at it as like plus side scenario AAA, meaning Minchie's developing really quickly, really good. And you think Carr is too. What does that look like as top of the line plan A, best case scenario? And then go down and have different avenues you could go down depending on where you feel everybody's at. What do you do if one guy's way ahead the other in that year in 24 and Minchie, like they just need to have plans for different scenarios depending on where they think this lands and then be able to pivot. Because it's the most important part of all this for stability for Freeman. You got to hitch a wagon to a young guy and develop. Don't you want to see that? You don't want to see these in and out year. I just think that's unstable unless you're going to win a title in one of those years. Then I love it. Other than that, it's a little unstable.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, CJ Carr coming in, I don't think he's expecting to play as a freshman. You know, how many kids, you know, in the Power Five actually do that? So I think he's going to have a level head enough to know that, you know, coming in as a freshman, get your.
But what if I said to you, what the hell's the point of being a 5-star quarterback then? If you can't come in and play right away, why are you a 5-star? Doesn't that mean you're one of the best in the country and those guys should be able to compete right away? Like, I'm playing the other side of this. Well,
you're one of the best in high school, but, you know, coming into college, it's a lot quicker. You know, you have to have reads. You have crazy crowds. You know, there's a whole lot of different stressors that come into play when you're just a kid that was on the high school gridiron, you know, this 4 months ago.
You'll appreciate this. You know what clip I came across? This is right up your alley. I know you love this. You know what clip I came across on YouTube the other night scrolling Notre Dame vintage football? The clip of when Notre Dame's crowd was so loud, Michigan couldn't even get a play called, and they gave them a timeout. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable our crowd could be that loud. Everybody back then must have put their wine and cheese down loud enough to yell and clap. One, that our crowd was that loud in the old building. The smaller building, it was that loud. And then the refs literally stopped the game to give them time to call play because it was so loud in that red zone area that they couldn't even hear a play being called. I love it. I love that. I miss that.
Yeah, I mean, I miss that too. That's not an everyday thing, you know, but I think that because of the fan base being so tired of not really having a team that can compete at that top level, like every time they made it, and this is why you go to these Big Ten chats and you hear Ohio State and Michigan just like hammering Notre Dame and the SEC, they treat them even worse. So, you know, until they can earn the respect and the crowd can help, you know, influence games, you're going to be in a bummer of a situation of trying to, you know, raise a team of really high quality 4-stars, you know?
Yeah. No, you're right. All right. Let me ask you this. Sorry, go ahead. You got something else?
Well, I was going to say, you know, when you were talking about, Notre Dame and NBC, I think that Notre Dame should cut ties.
That's where I was.
You're right.
That's where I was going next.
If they're only earning $22 million and you got Rutgers at 90, I mean, there's something wrong with that. So cut ties with NBC and let's see who comes calling. I wouldn't be averse to ESPN, you know, letting Notre Dame stay independent and just carry them because they would love it. You know, that would have their total domination of college football.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, but it gives me comfort when I see the numbers it gives me comfort that Notre Dame internally sees the big picture and they realize what those amounts are going to be for the SEC and the Big Ten. And they know they cannot afford to be 50 million behind every year and compete. It's not going to work. Notre Dame cannot succeed making $75 million less every year. You're dead forever. Just cover up the dome, let it go brown instead of gold. You're dead. So they know that. And then let's see if Swarbrick plays hardball or what they're going to do. I don't know what the realistic options are if it doesn't work with NBC. Where could they go? Is it ESPN? Like, who else would bid? I don't know how that goes to know that part of it. Where else would you go? Who else would be in the ring bidding for Notre Dame if it isn't NBC? I don't know. Do you?
Well, I think that everybody would be interested. Fox would be interested. They got Brady Quinn over there, and CBS has lost. They get like one SEC game, and then the other 15 are on ESPN. So
yeah,
CBS might like something. That maybe a morning game, and then go to their afternoon game.
I'm telling you,
game of the week.
I have no loyalty to NBC right now. I don't think Notre Dame's being treated as a premium brand product from what I see out of NBC. And I just personally would not drop one tier if we have to leave there, figure out who's going to pay you and make a good deal. And it doesn't have to be as much as the Big Ten deal, but it just has to be close enough that you don't feel like you're falling so far behind you can't catch up. And that needs to be the focus. The access to the playoff part is pretty much figured out. Now you just got to make sure these numbers keep you competitive, or you're in big trouble. I can't live in a world where Notre Dame gets 22 million a year and Rutgers gets 90. Like, just because they're in the Big Ten, I don't care. We can't exist like that. So, Jack, put on your lawyer hat and negotiate.
Yeah, Jack is hardly a hardliner. He negotiated Notre Dame to never get a bye when it goes to 12 teams, that they'll never get top 1 through 4. What if they're very much worthy of that?
I know.
And they're not allowed to get
what if they're 12-0 and number 1 ranked 12-0 with the brutal schedule, win all their games, and you're number 5? I guess then you just say, we're really good. Like, I guess that's what you do. You got to play an extra game. But if you think you're worthy of the top 4, then your thought should be, we're a damn good team, and we have to play one more. Well, then we're going to beat one more team. Also, I saw the schedule that came out for the 24 first playoff. They actually put out a schedule. I love it. You got games, 1 game the Friday before Christmas, 3 games that Saturday, and then games 3 more weeks. It's amazing. Bonus football.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, well, it made bowls become relevant again, right? Because there were so many that none of them mattered. Right. So now with 12 teams in the playoff, they're going to, if they keep them calling them the same bowls, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, but man, could you imagine? I can't wrap my mind around the Friday before Christmas, a home Notre Dame game. It's absolutely wild to think of. And the weather, I want these warm teams coming up there miserable. I love that dynamic. Give me a blizzard. I love, like, whatever the cold. It's bad enough in November. Those guys don't want to come. When USC comes, usually around October 15th on our home year, they got the full thermals underneath. It's like 50 degrees. Make them come up to us. I love that dynamic.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about that weather thing because, USC is going to get their first taste of Big Ten football in November and December, so they're going to be a little bit of an adjustment for them in UCLA. But for the most part, when you're ready to play football, when you have a big game coming up and the weather is whatever it is, you probably played before. You don't care. None of that matters. You just want to go out and bang heads, right? So
you could say it don't matter, but some of them guys don't like the cold, man. And I like seeing them squirm. I like seeing them sideline shots and they got the jet heater blower with that orange flame going and the guys are over there rubbing their hands and stuff. I love that. It's psychological Lou Holtz warfare. It tells me you're uncomfortable and you don't like it here, and I like that. I do.
I do. I think it's just football weather. To me, it's just football weather. So, when you have USC playing in Southern Cal and it's 75 degrees, or down in Florida and it's 85 degrees and 90% humidity, that's that's just a regional thing that
I can't offer them the same advice I did to the blue and gold people who are cold. The advice was have another one. You'll warm up enough. I don't have that advice for the players, but it worked for blue and gold. I think people just drank enough. They warmed up. I don't know. This is going to be interesting, but it's a new world. It's a new world for sure. Anything else you wanted to hit on?
No, I think that's good. I was just roaming around the kitchen doing dishes and making some breakfast. So now I'm on the phone. We chatted a little. I'm good to go.
There you go, my friend. Hey, thanks for checking in. I really appreciate it.
Oh, and by the way, last thing, I enjoyed the hell out of your mother being on the show on Saturday night.
You know what, man? You never know what you're going to get. You never know what you're going to get.
It's so funny because your father has seemed like a very cool Irish man too, but I didn't get to hear his first days. I only heard him come back on. So, but your mother, went right to the meat of it when she was saying how, don't hate because of Brian Kelly. He's what made you get this show and get your success. She knows you inside out, buddy.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. She's got it figured out. But it was really good to have them join. And even my dad, they're not as out there as I am with like how verbose I am and all that. So when they do chime in, it's like one of those things where when the quiet guy in the room says something, everybody listens. You know what I mean? One of those type deals.
Exactly.
So it was beautiful for them to call in, and I love that they want to be a part of the show. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, your dad, no doubt, lived through a lot of Notre Dame history.
Yep. And he grew up, and
he doesn't get so fired.
Yeah.
It's like me. I mean, come game day, you're just. I can't. In fact, I won't even be able to watch it live with you guys, or probably go on to the show after when the season starts, because it'll just be. I always do it on a delay. I can't handle all the commercials, so
yeah,
I always let it get like an hour ahead and then just zip through commercials. So
yeah,
I might not catch you guys on those nights, but I hope it doesn't become just a drunk fest either, because I'd like to hear good, honest people talking. Notre Dame and
I think I can. If it's a Saturday night game, then that gets tough because it'll be getting over really late. It'll be 11 on a Saturday or something. That'll be
exactly
tough. But I'm just going to try and regulate it better, and that's an ongoing thing too, to kind of regulate it and try and keep the language better. But we'll explore it because people are going to have a lot to say whether it's good or bad. So we'll see. I'll come up with a plan.
Yeah. Okay, John.
Have a good day, man. Really nice touching base with you.
Peace be with you, and go Irish, and go all Irish fans.
Peace be with you for sure. Thank you, Father. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
man. I love it when he calls. All right, couple more chats. Back to the calls. 224 is next. 219 coming after that. Right to you. Manny says, let's focus on this year. I'm tired of hearing about next year. It's the year to win a title. This is actually very interesting. I have a topic coming up on this. Phil Haig, by the way, what's going on, man? I like these commitments, but I'm not holding my breath on it. Yeah, no kidding. I agree with you on that one, Phil. Manny, let's focus on this year. I'm tired of hearing about next year. Here's what I've realized about Notre Dame football, and I think I've fallen victim to this. Notre Dame has lived my whole life in the past or the future, never in the damn moment. That's like my big come to Jesus realization at 38 years old as a Notre Dame lover. My existence, cognitive existence, which you could debate whether I have that now or not. My cognitive existence has been either looking back at Notre Dame history to feel better about things, and looking forward at what might be, and maybe this, and if this, then that, maybe this quarterback, maybe next year this will come together. We never get to live in the moment because we're never good enough to capitalize on anything in that moment. And some of that is an emotional crutch, and I admit I have fallen for it. A lot of things I come to you guys and go, don't do this. Here's why you shouldn't fall for it. I admit I've been a part of that. We either live in the past or the future, never in the moment. And that has to start changing. Why the hell not this year with Hartman, a quarterback whipping it around with better receivers and everything else? We live in the past and we live on potential, never in the damn moment. Change that. Oh, where am I? Rudy, good to see you. Rudiger here as always. Adam Dowling, good to see you. Deb Thomas, look at all the regulars in a row. The Hart Foundation. BVG should be coach of nothing, by the way. Woo! Look at this. Look at this here. Sharky 61 having a little fun. Hartman wins the Heisman and ND brings us home a championship. Sharky. I like where you're going. I'm going to call you Sparky, Sharky. I like that. Hope you're not drinking in the morning. Those are some lofty goals. Brandon Fry's up in the house. Good to see you. The drunk Vigo. Of course the drunk's here. What do we got, Steven? Morning, Irish Nation, our fearless leader, John. Also, Steven, I would like to thank you. Couple nice messages from some people after Saturday that enjoyed the different energy, just being able to kind of offer that kind of laid-back show. And still wrap football into it. Steven, appreciate it. I appreciate him letting me know. Also, I want to say this to you guys. I don't know if I say this enough. At any time, email me, direct message me on Twitter, put in the comments or whatever here. Something you want to see talked about. It's the off season. We could do anything you guys want. If you have a topic and I'm either not hitting it or not hitting it hard enough, message me and we'll do it. That's what the summer's for. Have a little fun. Shoot all over. Why does ND deserve $75 million? Tell me why. Why does Rutgers deserve 90? Like, if we're going down that strand of logic, we can. Why does Rutgers deserve $90 million a year when they pull no ratings and they're not ever good at football? Why do they deserve 90? Because they're in the Big Ten. Who cares? Like, if it's a logical thing about that, you can't debate Notre Dame is a ratings juggernaut until they make us go to the Peacock to watch a real game. And it isn't just because everybody loves Notre Dame like silly Johnny in his basement. Half the people tune in to see us lose and to mock and ridicule us. And the other half is us. And it all adds up in a pool where Notre Dame pulls good ratings. So if you want to ask why Notre Dame deserves 75, tell me why Rutgers deserves 90. And if you can find a good reason other than a loose association of schools with similar academics, I'll listen to you. Tell me a logical reason they get 90 and Notre Dame's outrageous for 75. Whatever. It's stupid Peacock. Even just the name, just the stupid, I'm a peacock. It just bugs me. The whole thing, I'm a peacock. I need this cool animal. Look at the rainbow feathers. Just show me the game. Show me the game. I had too much coffee this morning. My word, too much coffee. It's a $10 holler from Adam Dowling. And Adam Dowling's lovely wife donated $100 on a dare on the Saturday night chat. She was sitting there throwing dares out for $100. Woo! The Dowlings are keeping the Always Irish in business. $10 holler. 1 year in Freeman and Stuck, you're already fixing Reese BK receiver recruiting. Yeah. Not only receiver, quarterback, all of that, man. I'm telling you, it's a different operation with a different mindset now, and I appreciate it. Thank you for the $10 hour, Adam. Let's have dinner at the lovely lighthouse across the Illinois-Indiana border soon. Crack a couple lids and then yell about Notre Dame at dinner. It'd be fun. I'm sure the ladies will appreciate that topic of conversation once we get going. But that'd be fun. 224, I'm coming to you. 219 as well. Want to get caught up here. Katie, Stucky's been a rock star. That's why you got to keep that dude around. I'm telling you, that's why you got to keep that dude around. I don't want to. Here's the thing, you guys. You know how I am with this stuff. I don't have it in me to spend a whole week or longer debating the topic of if Notre Dame's willing to pay assistant coaches. It almost caused me to stroke out when we did it in the winter with Ludwig and the OC and all that. I sincerely don't want to go down that path again. But if there's a scenario where Stuckey leaves, even if the guy says my heart's in the NFL, I'm not staying in college. The narrative is going to be, whether it's factual or not, the narrative will be Notre Dame cannot pay their top guys to stay here. It's going to break my heart, and I don't feel like having to revisit that issue. I don't. It was miserable addressing all the feelings and the things I felt I had a responsibility to bring up and confront when it came to the Ludwig situation and asking very uncomfortable, tough questions about Notre Dame's operation, who's running it, what's the messaging, what's the timing, not exposing us publicly, what's the real story with the money, can we get the guys we want or not? I'm telling you guys, I don't want to go there again, but if Stuckey's out, we're going to, and I'm going to blow a stack. And you all know it. I don't want to do it again. Take care of your good guys. Just do it. Oh, man. ESPN's current contract with CFP is over $600 million a year. $75 million a year for a top 3 viewership is quite doable. There you go. Hey, you know how numbers are. You can play numbers any way you want to fit whatever you want. Oh, man. All right, we're getting caught up on the chat. Get back to the calls. Dr. John, good to see you, the good doctor. Dylan, Montana, stop for McMuffin. Have a great show. Behave yourselves. Well, I don't see Cotter in here today, so I think the behavior's a little more consistent. Personally hoping Indy goes CBS. Feel like NBC's production's been pretty bad as of late. Yeah, I don't like it at all. The number one thing I want when the Notre Dame game window comes up on TV and they're doing their introduction and they zoom in on this whatever, and then they go to the booth, I want to feel like something important is happening. I want to feel like Notre Dame is playing, and that is the most important thing. And we got our brand name guys all over it, giving it this big game feel, like Mike Tirico, a big name voice, even Dan Hicks, big name voice, like big time. I got nothing, dude. I got a tryout for a guy right out of college whose dad's good at this. And then an old coach who's talking about what's going on. There's no balls. There's nothing that NBC does that makes me feel like Notre Dame is important when they're covering their games. Oh, sorry, it's not going to the sideline and having a former player in the corner at halftime. That's all nothing to me. That's fluff. It's fluff they're selling you. And then we're going to bring back a Notre Dame guy. How does it feel to be in the NFL? Yeah, I like Notre Dame. That doesn't do anything for me, dude. That doesn't do anything for me. Nothing. Give me Burt Reynolds. Good to see you here. Manny, good to see you. Just give me it. Make it feel like it's a big time, man. Make it feel like it is a big deal when Notre Dame's playing. Uh-oh. Angela Rudiger, you used to have the best fro. I got to admit something to you guys. Maybe I'll come up with a picture. Angela could verify this. In my early 20s, I had a big curly afro, bro. I got to a point where I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to grow out my hair and see what happens. And it turned into like a huge curly afro, and I would do all dumb, silly stuff with it and Half the ladies liked it. Half the ladies hated it. I learned that. They either really loved it or really hated it. But you know how I am. I started doing my hair all weird, going out for the night with it, having somebody straighten it and have it look all weird. Like, I just did whatever. But I had a big, huge, curly red fro, and it was beautiful. I looked like Ronald McDonald in the flesh. I'll try and find a picture for those that can't believe I had that kind of hair. I really did. Oh, I really did. That's a little scary. Oh, man. All right, we're getting caught up. Another $5 holler from Adam. Is CBS an option, John, after losing the SEC? I would. Why wouldn't they be? They're probably looking for something to balance that out in those windows. What's the numbers like? I know CBS has got dough, though. What else? Let's find some more super chats. All right, I'm going to stop it here. Go back to the calls. 224. We'll get back to the chat in a minute. Good morning.
Hey, what's going on, John? How's it going, John? It's Andrew Gilmore. How are you?
I'm doing very well, my friend. You know what? A couple people mentioned you to me, saying that you always comment and call with really good insights. So I just wanted you to know there's a couple people who did identify you and liked what you put in the chat. So good job, man.
Well, hey, thanks. Appreciate it, man. Wanted to call you today to talk about the quarterback situation. I think the best move in terms of recruiting that Marcus Freeman has done since he's come to Notre Dame was bringing in Sam Hartman, and I think it's a no doubter. And the reason for that is I think he realizes that he made a huge mistake last year listening to Tommy Rees, because I'm sure Rees told him that Buckner was ready for prime time. And I think Marcus Freeman realized even if Buckner would have stayed healthy, the performance against Ohio State and the performance against Marshall was enough to tell him that this guy's not getting us to a BCS game, let alone, a playoff game.
You want to know? All right, now wait, I got a thought on that. And man, you mentioned good things. Here's my thought. In an effort to illustrate to people just how far behind where you need to be Notre Dame's quarterback position was starting last year, it was so far behind that even if the plan went perfectly, you were on the edge of your seat not knowing if you were even going to get decent quarterback play. That was the best case scenario last year, was pray Buckner stays healthy and also pray that it's really good and he gets better as the year goes on. In our best scenario, it was a complete unknown hope that it would have worked out. That was our best case. Turns out the worst case ended up happening, so it didn't matter. But that shows you how far behind Notre Dame was starting, that even in our best outcome, you had no idea if you were going to get good play. That is dangerous, and Notre Dame needs to wade its way out of those uncertain quarterback waters.
Definitely. And then the other thing I would mention is I think Jim Trussell gives counsel to Marcus Freeman. So I hope that
I've heard that as well.
I hope that he's helping Freeman realize that pushing a super young quarterback who isn't ready for prime time can be a career or certainly a job ender, but definitely a career ender. And I just want to throw out a few names. Think about how high Wisconsin football was, in the last 15 years, but one quarterback single-handedly got their coach fired, a guy named Graham Mertz. He was terrible. They pushed him as a freshman, pushed Jack Cohn out of the job, and that cost the coach his job. Scott Frost, when he was probably the biggest name on the market when he accepted the Nebraska job, what does he do? He pushes out all the veteran quarterbacks on the staff. He goes with Adrian Martinez, and 4 years later he gets fired. Tom Herman was the biggest name in offensive football when he got hired by Texas. He pushes out the quarterbacks at Texas, goes with Sam Ehlinger, who was pretty good, but he was not anywhere near the level of Oklahoma quarterbacks. Tom Herman gets fired. Even like if you go back to old school, like Bobby Bowden during the 90s and early 2000s was dominating college football. what happens to his career at Florida State? He goes with a guy named Chris Ricks, who was by far a 5-star quarterback, number one quarterback in the country. Chris Ricks was terrible, started 4 years at Florida State, and hastened his exit from Florida State. And then the last guy I'll mention is that Clemson would never fire Dabo, but there has been a major step back in their program, and I think it's absolutely linked to DJU. He was not as good as advertised. He should not have been a 5-star. He's pretty, very mechanical, not nearly as good a scrambler as Trevor Lawrence was. And Clemson has now taken a major step back, not a major step back, but they were not thought of the way that they were 3 or 4 years ago. And I think you can directly link that to DJU. There's other things going on with Dabo not taking transfers and stuff, but yeah. If they had a quarterback who would elevate the program, they'd be in much better shape. So I think it's all to say that Marcus Freeman did the right thing by getting Sam Hartman, because he's not going to have Buckner ruin his career at Notre Dame. Yeah. And then the second thing is, you seem to be really worried about taking transfers, that like, geez, we can't live off transfers every year. And I agree with you, because like Mel Tucker, Lane Kiffin, they both had initial success using the portal. Both teams took a step back. But I do think that you got to play the best person at the best position, which the quarterback is the best position. And so do not push Minchie into a starting role if he's not ready. And then the same thing for CJ Carr. Even when you look at Bryce Young, you look at Kyler Murray, guys who played very early on in their college careers, they still sat a year. They still sat the bench for a year and really learned the job. So pushing a true freshman quarterback, I think, could be really disastrous, especially if you listen to 247 and some of the recruiting sites. They list Carr as a he's a high 4-star quarterback, but they say that other than that Raiola guy, who's probably going to either go to USC or Nebraska, other than him, there's a huge step down in quarterback. So it's not like Carr is going to be good, especially if we develop him, but he's not Bryce Young, a guy who's going to come in, sure thing, 5-star quarterback, going to just tear it up right away. He needs development. So it would really be a bad decision, I think, on Marcus Freeman's part to push him if he's not ready. So if we have to take another transfer next year, so be it. You've got to play the best player. And I think that there could absolutely be more Sam Hartmans next year. And if that's available, you got to do it, unless you think Minchie's ready for prime time. If there's any doubt in your minds, you got to do it. So that's my opinion on it. So, and I don't care what the perception is. I'm not going to let some freshman quarterback go 6-6, and all of a sudden I'm on the hot seat. My recruiting class falls apart, and you're like Scott Frost, where he stayed with Adrian Martinez too long. And I think that if he would have brought in a Casey Thompson type quarterback a year or two early, he'd still be the coach at Nebraska right now. But instead, he waited too long. His defense was terrible last year. If he would have had Casey Thompson 2 years ago, he probably would have won 8 games and signed an extension. So that's how important quarterback is.
Sometimes I do wonder, behind closed doors, how Marcus and Gaduli and Parker talk about all this. Like, I wonder what they want the plan to be, because it has to be navigated the right way. Like you said, the worst thing you could do is jam a freshman out there and they're not ready, and then it kills that year on the record. That hurts recruiting, and then you have that kid's confidence in the crapper. Like, you can't do that, but you do have to be open to the idea that if a guy is undeniable, you can play him early. Like, there's a lot there, and you also have to make sure, if your plan isn't to try and have Carr come in there and play right away, you got to make sure everybody knows the plan. And so that he's not itching to go run somewhere where they are promising he could play right away. Like, everybody has to buy in here that there's a bigger plan in play here. And when the time is right, we're going to set this all up, have the support around that guy, and then he can really take off. I agree with you. It has to be navigated the right way. It comes down to Gaduli and Parker and Freeman having a good feel of exactly what they have and where it's all at. And the evidence suggests to me that recently Notre Dame's feel with quarterbacks hasn't been that great.
Well, I just think that you have to do your best to look at every position through objective eyes. And it's really hard to do. I mean, you think about, Lou Holtz pushed Ron Paulus. Who knows if Ron Paulus was really ready to play early on? Same with Charlie Weiss. Remember, he put in Jimmy Clausen at halftime of the first game. It's like, then they pretty much lost 2 years, trying to get Jimmy Clausen ready to go. So those guys, like, they fall in love with their own recruits. And so the hope would be that bringing in Gino Guidugli, who's not really, hasn't recruited a quarterback yet, wasn't even really part of CJ Carr's recruitment. Maybe he can be the objective voice in the room to say, this guy's ready or this guy isn't ready. So I think that they're probably in good shape if Gino Guidugli can provide that type of counsel. But just the bottom line is, unless you have a Bryce Young, a Caleb Williams, who, I mean, if you go back and look at their 247 ratings, they were like 90, like high 90 recruits. I mean, they were can't miss guys. And you don't want to push them because it could get you fired. So
all right,
yeah,
wait, we got a chat here, and I don't think it was about you, but it applies to what we're talking about. It says, terrible take from the caller. Carr expects to be the guy day one. And that's the question I have behind closed doors. What does Freeman and the offensive staff think? I don't know that Carr thinks that. Well, I don't know that Carr thinks it. Maybe they talk to Carr. Like, I don't know that he thinks that or not. Like, that's why I'm asking. I wonder how this is being built up as far as a plan.
No way.
You don't think so?
But let's just. Well, I mean, Marcus Freeman. I mean, if you think Marcus Freeman is an oil salesman, then maybe he's made that deal. But I don't see that, and I don't think he's dumb enough to make that deal. Number one, but number two, the idea that CJ Carr could negotiate a starting job right away is ridiculous. The most highly touted recruit in high school history was Arch Manning, who signed this year with Texas. And even he wasn't able to negotiate a starting job right away. So the idea that CJ Carr can come in and throw his weight around at Notre Dame to say, I'm going to be the starter day one, is totally ridiculous.
Now, saying that the next thing that same chatter said is he's going to have every chance to start day one. That's totally different. That's a totally different thing. You should tell that guy, you come in here, and if you earn the job, we're not going to hold you back, but you have to earn it. And that means you don't get a lot of extra leeway. He's a young guy or whatever. You have to be the best guy. And if you're the best guy, we can run with you if the best guy's at eye level and you're him. But it's got to be navigated right.
Quarterback. If Minchie came in during this period and was throwing dimes, you know what I mean? It's like, but it doesn't work out that way. These guys need to develop, And then the other thing is, you don't want to push quarterback because what it does to their confidence. Like, I think about Buckner. You know what probably did a real number on Buckner's confidence level was that Virginia Tech game where they really pushed him. Cohn had a couple bad drives. They throw Buckner in. He had some initial success. And then they basically said, we're going to ride with Buckner for the rest of the game. And then what does Buckner do? He throws two really bad interceptions. One, I think, was a pick six that went 70 yards. And I don't know if Buckner ever mentally recovered from that. You know what I mean? It's like he had never been able to show that he could read defenses, made the same mistakes again in that South Carolina game. So it's just dumb to push. There's no way Freeman is guaranteeing to Carr that he's going to be the starter. Of course, you tell any blue chip recruit at any position that if you're ready to go day one, we'll play you. We play the best guy. So
but think about it. It makes no logical sense. But wait,
look at Lloyd Carr. Look at Lloyd Carr. It's not his first rodeo. Lloyd Carr was a coach for 40 years. There's no way he'd let his grandson think that it's appropriate for him to come in and start day one as an 18-year-old. He wants to see his grandson succeed. It's the develop. Same way, you would never push a starting pitcher who throws 100 miles an hour to be brought up when they're 18 years old, because you need to learn how to pitch. You know what I mean? So that you put him in the minor leagues for a couple of years. So I just can't. I think CJ Carr's goal is to make it to the NFL. It's not to win a national championship or even win a Heisman. He wants to be an NFL quarterback, and like Arch Manning, he's got great counsel. And so I cannot think that they would ruin their career by saying, hey, you got to start me game one. So,
yeah. And the other reason that makes no logical sense is Hartman came in as about a known as there could possibly be, being a sixth-year guy. He wasn't guaranteed that. You're definitely not going to give it to some 18-year-old high schooler. You didn't give it to a guy who's in his sixth year. He had to earn that job, and he did it. But this whole thing has to be navigated the right way. And if the development and timing lines up right, it could end up really special on the back end of this. But there's a very fine line there between not wanting to rush it, but wanting to push a guy and doing what's best for them and doing what's best for the team. And oh, by the way, you can't just have people sit in the bench for years because nobody's willing to do that anymore. Like, there's a lot to navigate. And here's where I think Marcus Freeman can help. Marcus Freeman, he gets what's going on. Like, Marcus Freeman is a people person. The interaction between him and others and the way he communicates is exemplary. Like, he has above average social skills to be able to gauge a situation in a room. It's one of the things I really love about him. He's supremely connected to reality interpersonally. Freeman's going to figure out how to navigate this the right way, get a feel off where this is at. I think that's one of the ways a personality can really pay off. I trust him to be able to navigate that.
Definitely. And then, hey, before I let you go, I just wanted to touch on one other point that you were talking about, the NBC deal. I think if NBC comes up with the money, then fine, go ahead and do the deal.
I'll have the same complaints. I'll have the same complaints I have about the production, but go ahead if they're willing to pony up. Sure.
I just think from a logical standpoint, I don't think people realize, even though there are hated rivals, and like you can't ever say anything good on this chat about Michigan or even Ohio State. I don't think people realize there was an article that was put out after the season that listed, like, I think the top 10 or 20 games in terms of audience. And you'll note that Michigan and Ohio State are littered through that, the top 15 games in terms of audience. And then you'll also note, like, early on in the year, they put Michigan on at ABC at noon. Or on ESPN at noon every time. It doesn't matter who they play. If they play UConn, they play Hawaii, they play some.
They got the 11. Team, they got that 11 o'clock ABC window is what they got. Yep.
Exactly, and the reason for that is they're not just a Michigan brand; they're a national brand. The Big Ten is a national brand. That's why they were able to negotiate such a great deal. The SEC is a national brand because of Bama and those top-rate teams, but I don't think they have the appeal of these blue bloods like Michigan and Ohio State. And so I see a major hole in ESPN's programming. Right now, they are all SEC, ACC, and Big 12, and I think that they could risk being a regional network, number one, and number two, if they lose that 12 noon time slot, because Fox has really pushed hard to put their best game of the week on at noon.
Yeah.
If ESPN loses that time slot and they try to put like Ole Miss or something on it at noon, then they risk fans just leaving the channel on Fox. So that first game of the day is really important. So I think ESPN is probably the best partner in the short term for Notre Dame, because they realize we don't have, outside of the South, we don't have any blue bloods. Now that USC and UCLA have left the Pac-12, the Pac-12 itself is not attractive. There's no teams that attract an audience on the West Coast. Maybe Oregon and Washington, but I don't think they're national brands. Yeah. So what do I do to replace that? Well, I think Notre Dame's in the catbird seat. They could demand $75 million from ESPN, be their mainstay 6 weeks out of the year on the noon time slot, and then you intersperse that with like Texas and Oklahoma and Alabama, and then now you can really compete against Ohio State and Michigan on the other channel. So.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. That's a good angle to look at it too. See, I knew what I was talking about when I said you had good thoughts. I wouldn't mislead people. Every time you come up with something good, man. You have good points on all of this. I like the way you think of things. I don't know, man. I just feel like the media deal, I think, will work itself out. I don't know how, but does it make you feel good to at least know Notre Dame knows the ballpark they got to be in to stay competitive? It doesn't have to be as much, but they have to at least be in the ballpark, or we have no way to stay up with these teams.
See, I don't think they should have Jack Swarbrick negotiating this deal. And the reason why I say that they should bring in a new AD to negotiate the deal And the reason why I say that is look at the ACC. The ACC had this long time, very well-respected commissioner. And at the time when he signed ESPN, the deal, the ACC deal with ESPN, people were like, oh my God, he got every team $40 million a year. That's an amazing deal. But then within the next 3 or 4 years, they realized that was a shit deal. And so, but what happened was that guy was 1 foot out the door. And so he signed that deal and he retired. And then all of a sudden the new commissioner just is sitting there twiddling his thumbs because he's locked into like a 20-year deal with ESPN and he can't do anything about it. So yeah. I would be worried about that. I would, if I was Notre Dame, if you're going to keep Jack Swarbrick around, don't have him negotiate a deal, have a real TV executive come in and negotiate that deal the same way the Big Ten did. They brought the Big Ten's ex-commissioner was like a TV guy.
Yep.
And the same with so don't have him do that because if he's like in his late 60s or mid to late 60s, right? Jack Swarbrick, like he's not going to be around to see if that deal is really bad. And he, for some reason, doesn't get any criticism for the terrible deal he signed with NBC. I mean, we're getting paid $20 million now, but like in the last few years, we've been getting paid even less than that. So yeah. He was stupid on his last deal. So I would not have him negotiate the deal. I'd bring in a real TV executive to do it, and then at least have someone around who might have to pay the consequences if it's a bad deal. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, man, it's you bring up good points. You think of everything from every angle, and that's what I go for here. I really appreciate you, man. You throw in some new ways to think about things. That quarterback thing is going to be one of the main narratives for 24, how it's going to be structured. I'm not sure what the best move is now. Some of it's going to depend on who's in the portal. If you think you need a guy, it has to be the right guy. So some of this, even if they want to go to the portal, you're not even going to know until you get in that situation because it depends who's around and who's available, who's a good fit, who's interested.
Yeah, and John, I'll just leave you on this and like to see you do a video on it. But by going to a 3-3-5 defense, I think the biggest hole that Notre Dame has going into the season is depth in the defensive backfield. If Cam Hart gets hurt again, I mean, who knows who they're going to be throwing out there. 3-3-5 means they have 5 DBs at all times on the field, and sometimes they go to 6 on third down. So I just think they have real depth issues, and I would hope before fall camp happens that they pick up at least a safety, but I would even pick up 2 guys. So I think that's so important just to get some bodies in there because otherwise they're playing a bunch of freshmen. So.
Yeah, and I've seen that talked about as well as a depth concern. And when hasn't it been, quite frankly? I'm 38. I don't remember a time in my cognitive existence where I didn't have any worries on the back end. Even if we had a good guy here or there, Julian Love over here, like whatever, Harrison Smith over here, Kyle Hamilton here. I need 2 or 3 of each of them at the same time. Did I just blow?
Exactly.
I was going to say, did I just blow out your phone? There was a little delay. I blew out your eardrum. I killed him. I finished him. It's my bad. Hey, man, I really appreciate the call. You're always in the chat. You think of things very diplomatically, somewhat neutrally, and look at all angles. Really good caller, really good chatter, my friend. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Have a good one.
You too. Take care. Man, that guy really thinks things out. Very clearly spoken. And you know what else curries you favor with the radio host? When you have a crystal clear phone line. It doesn't sound like you're speaking from the next filming of the movie Twister Part 2 or whatever else people are doing. Oh, man. I swear, some of these people, it sounds like they're calling from the plane Newt Rockne was in when it went down. I can hear rattling, nothing but wind coming through. Oh, my God. I'm having fun today. I don't know what it is. Too much coffee or something. I'm telling you. Yeah, look at this. This year is always the best year to win a natty. Yeah, I've been saying that for 38 years, and my hairline is receding, and so are the years I have left to accomplish this goal. I'm running low. Man. Yeah, exactly, Manny. We're tapped out, bro. Oh, tapped out. Nick Dean, good to see you here. Please tell your lovely wife I said hello. She was so nice to me at the tailgate, Nick. I mean, you were too, but she especially went out of her way to be kind to the group. And I really appreciate that. Tell her I said hello. I've been watching ND for 50 years and I drink the Kool-Aid every damn year. You know what? Texas Mac, I got to admit this. I'm not sure I'm proud of this, but I got to admit it, Mac. There are times in my life doing what I do now with the Notre Dame stuff as much as I do now. This is kind of consuming my identity almost. Is I'm always Irish is me. Like, this is my world every day. I admit there are times where I'm sitting there listening to music on a weekend or whatever. I'm drinking a few cold ones and I'll sit there and allow myself to think of what it would be like for Notre Dame to win. And I allow it only for like 30 seconds and then I cut it off because it's just the harsh realities of where we've been to get to that jump. I mean, I've pictured in my mind what it would be like to come on these airwaves after Notre Dame wins playoff games or God forbid wins a champ. Like, I will allow myself that joy in my mind only for about 30 seconds. And then it gets dangerous. So I'll let that creep in. What it would, to even imagine what it might feel like for us to accomplish something I care about. I don't know what that's like. You guys have to understand, depending on what age you are, if you're my age, 38, I don't have a memory of Notre Dame doing anything good. What is Notre Dame? I'm 38. So that means I was too young to be able to celebrate 88. And the 93 thing, I was under 10 years old. Every year of my cognitive memory ends in Notre Dame disappointment. Yet here I am. It's like Pete said from Rudy, having dreams what make life tolerable. And that's where I say we get caught living in the past, living in the future. What about now? SB Flood, what do we got? For real, though. ND with Hartman has not looked that good in a spring game of what feels like my entire life. Also 38 years old. Bro, I'm telling you, I have never been to a Notre Dame spring game that I remember operating that smoothly on offense for any time with anything close to that rhythm ever that I can remember. Usually that spring game, even your number one quarterback, you expect it to look rough, balls hitting the ground, miscommunication, all that. Hartman ran the offense like a maestro. It's going to look so damn different next year. And it's exactly what Notre Dame needs. You know what I want fans of other teams to do this year? I want fans from other teams to put on a Notre Dame game to hate watch the way I hate watch Kelly in Michigan. And you know what's interesting is, I got my hate watch. Any Michigan game's a hate watch. I watch it till they start beating whatever high school they're playing by enough that it's not a game, and then I turn it off. And if there's a risk they're going to lose, I watch the whole thing. So you got to hate watch that. You got to hate watch USC out on the West Coast. I got to hate watch Brian Kelly. Alabama, I hate what Alabama represents big picture, but I don't hate Reese and Buckner. That's more of a little bit of a neutral almost. Like, I will never have the vitriol for Reese and Buckner that I have for Kelly. Kelly's offenses to me personally and Notre Dame Nation are so egregious over such a large amount of time. I don't have that ill will for Reese and for Tommy and Tyler. So I just have a lot that I got to see. I want these other teams to tune in going, let's watch Notre Dame lose this one. And I want some of those people to be mad saying, damn it, their offense got a lot better and I do not like it. Like, that's what I want the narrative to be leading up to Notre Dame, Ohio State. That is the narrative I want. I want fans of other teams that hate us to put on our games and go, damn it, this pisses me off. Notre Dame looks like they have a real modern offense, and I hate this. That's what I want early in the year. I want that to be the narrative. None of those fans will admit. They're not going to put it on social media. They're not going to give Notre Dame any credit. but I want them sitting on their couch, shaking their head, going, damn it, Notre Dame looks a lot better, and that pisses me off. That's what I'm going for this year. I want that. I want it. Give it to me. Look at this. This is aggressive from Patrick. Top of the morning to you. A natty this year and no excuses. No excuses. Championships every year. What do you think this is, Patrick? The Michael Jordan Bulls or what? What do we got cooking here? Every year, no excuses. I like it in theory. Hard to accomplish practically. That's what I've decided. Oh, man. Rutgers is in the New York market, and they're in a conference. Thank you for alerting me. They're in the Big Ten, which I mentioned, and they're in the New York market, but still, who cares? I'm just saying the argument being made against Notre Dame getting this. When I see these tweets about Notre Dame requesting $75 million in their negotiation with NBC, a lot of these reporters are saying that sarcastically, and then they're adding, when's the last time Notre Dame won anything to deserve this? So the reason I'm going after what is won or not to deserve that money is Rutgers never wins anything, and nobody bats an eye that they get $90 million just because they're in New York and in a conference. Who cares? The actual football product is garbage. So I'm just saying, like, you can't just say it's about how much you won lately, because there's a lot of teams making a lot of money they don't deserve if that's the calculation. So I guess this is one of the big benefits of hooking up in one of these conferences is you just get to do whatever you want. Rutgers, I just can't imagine a world where Rutgers gets $90 million a year to be terrible every year just because of where their building is planted. I hate that. Hate it. Nick Dean, I still think we should join the Big Ten. All our rivals I want to see are there. I'm going to tell you this. If Notre Dame ever does have to pivot into a conference, the Big Ten's a natural fit in every single way. Every single way. If anybody ever wanted to argue that like there would be a golden window for Notre Dame to entertain that, as much as I like our independence and it's a part of our DNA, it would be very hard to argue now is not entering that window. The money's right. $90 million a year. We went over. That's a good payout. So the money's right. The rivalries, Notre Dame located where it is, every direction you have rivalries. You got Purdue. You got Michigan. You got Michigan State. You got Ohio State. You got Wisconsin up there. You got Northwestern in Chicago. It's not a rivalry, but you go down a couple hours, you got U of I. Go visit fantastic Champaign. Hour and a half south of where I am. Go down there. See what's up there. You got your West Coast and you got your USC that we all want and need. You got that out west, so you have a little West Coast trip there. And then you got all of the northern team. You got your Penn State, and then you're at New York. Buddy, you pretty much got everything you want then. All those rivalries. Nebraska would be a rivalry. Iowa, like I could create a narrative for almost all those teams but Rutgers and Maryland. Almost everybody but those two, I could create a narrative to make it an interesting, compelling game with a lot of juice and a lot of fanfare. If Notre Dame ever had to do it, the Big Ten's it, and it's pretty clear to me. Very clear to me. Oh, don't do this to me, Nick. Nick just wants to see me get going. I know. Nick he just wants to see my blood pressure get going. It's stupid peacock. I swear to it's so small timey. Here's what you do. Here's what I would have done. You don't make it a requirement that you need Peacock to watch a real Notre Dame game. Here's what I would have done. I would have added it as an optional feature, and to entice people to try it, add a whole bunch of really cool features you can only get on the stream. And I hate to tell you, but running the same two commercials they run on the Peacock strip, that ain't it. But that's how I would have done it. Make it optional for people that are at work during the game or at their kid's soccer game but want to see the game, whatever. Make it optional in that way. but don't make it a requirement. Make it optional. And then you got to add a bunch of features that like only you could have that are really cool, not annoying. I don't know what they are. I'm not a TV exec, but that's how I would have sold that. Making me get the Peacock. And you know what else it does too? Here's the other problem with the Peacock I don't like. We're always talking about Notre Dame as a national brand and the weight that Notre Dame carries in the national landscape about Notre Dame. Well, let me run through this with you. I realize it's not the biggest game on the schedule. Notre Dame USC is not going on Peacock. They realize you can't do that. I don't care, even if it's Central Michigan, whatever dumb ball state, whatever it is that's on Peacock for us. What you did then is you just deleted one of the 12 golden weeks to promote your product to the whole country. You ended that. You ended it because the only losers going to Peacock are all of us. Like I talked about how I hate watch other teams. Other fans that hate us aren't going to Peacock to jump on there and see what's going on. You're out of sight, out of mind that whole day, and I hate that. Anybody ever think of that? You have a 12-week window to promote all your stuff. You do this on a hidden website, you're out. It's a bye week. You're out of sight, out of mind that week. You don't matter the whole country. Your highlights aren't on TV. No casuals are watching, even if they hate you. Nobody's watching but us that are captive and addicted to this stuff. So I don't like that as well. You're out of sight, out of mind for one of those 12 windows. Hate it. Oh, boy. Brian Denbo. I wish Jack would fight for his head coach as much as he's fighting for network access. I'm not getting started on that one because you could debate all day what the truth is there. Yeah, exactly. Manny Rutgers gets $90 million because they got lucky to be in the Big Ten. But you know, we're ND. We have a storied program. We just do everything backwards. Notre Dame leverages their brand so well in so many arenas of life. And in some others, they refuse to, and I don't get it. That's what I'll say about that. They leverage that brand so well in so many areas. And then some of them, I look at like the potential leverage Notre Dame has of their brand TV-wise. What's possible with NIL for them? We're nowhere near maxing out the potential leverage Notre Dame has in so many areas. And that's a little frustrating for me, man. I'm sorry. It just is. Look at this. Hartman wins that. We got multiple people on the chat today that are predicting Hartman wins the Heisman, ND's best offensive line. Man, look at this. Wait a second. Hartman wins the Heisman. ND gets best O-line, best D-line. Diggs wins best all around. Forget Nick Diggs. He's not even with the. What am I missing the point of this? Freeman gets coach of the year in ND. Oh, there you go. I guess we're playing a hypothetical where everything goes right for us and everybody's here. Is that what we're doing? Or did I miss that? Yeah, okay. I wasn't missing that. It threw me off because I know Diggs isn't with us. Got it. Look at this. Manny's got a hardline stance. I'll never watch ND on Peacock. I'd rather look at the highlights. I'm not about that subscription. Here's what I think about it. Here's what I really think about that. If we still had Tony Roberts, I would have no problem doing it the way my dad grew up, gathering around the old radio box there, and you listen to the game around the radio. If we still had Tony Roberts, I'd do that. I'd do that in a heartbeat. 219, Adam. I see Adam. I'll get you in 1 minute, Adam. I know you're working. I'll get to you. Almost caught up on the chats. John Fitzgerald. I'd love to see Indy in the Big Ten solely to get Michigan, MSU, Purdue back on the schedule. Classic rivalries in my childhood. Don't forget about Michigan State. Yeah, you got Michigan State on there. Man, just really good rivalries. Notre Dame, Iowa would turn exciting. Notre Dame, Wisconsin would turn exciting. Notre Dame, Penn State again. All those battles in the early 90s with Lou and Paterno. Like, those are heavy-hitting games guaranteed every year. If Notre Dame ever felt that they had to join a conference, that's the one for me. It is. That's the one for me. All right, let me get caught up here. Ooh, $10 holler. Thank you very much, John. I just dropped okay. I don't know about this $10. You might need it. I just dropped $1,000 on 2 Ohio State tickets, $200 for 2 Central Michigan ticks. Travel from Oklahoma plus motel, staying in Bend a week, and golf over $2,000. Listening to your show, priceless. I appreciate that, man. That's some good Notre Dame loyalty right there. And I admire you for it. Be in the house for that Ohio State game. Wear your green and be seen, and don't sell the tickets to the other team. That's the word on the street, people. Mike, thanks for the donation. And I hope, wait a second, Central Michigan, this might just work out because there are rumblings of Always Irish having another tailgate event for that game. So if that happens, Mike, I expect you to be there or be square. And so we're going to have to stay tuned on that. But there is some rumbling building after the success of the blue and gold tailgate. Like, what would happen if we do it for one of these games and we could get a bigger crowd and better weather? That might be a fun day. A fun day. Nick Dean, 108 viewers, 33 likes. What are you guys, half asleep? Move your thumb. Give me the like. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right, Adam, I'm almost there. Almost caught up, buddy. I don't want to miss a super chat. I feel really bad. I think I missed a $10 super chat Monday, and it's been bugging me ever since. Like, that's how serious I take that. I think I was editing, and I went through something. I think I saw a $10 chat that I missed, and I want to apologize. If you noticed that I didn't mention you, please know it wasn't intentional. I appreciate every dollar. I do. It all goes right back into the show. Here we go, Adam. What's up, buddy?
What's up, John? How you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. What do you make of all this? Hey, you and I were talking about all this quarterback stuff. How do you think this is going to go, and how do you think it should go? Do you have an opinion on this?
What do you mean exactly? Like the future?
Yeah, okay, let me start with 23. Is it just Angeli, or is there going to be a competition for number 2? I don't have the answer to that.
I think there's got to be a competition for number 2 because I haven't really heard much about Angeli just looking great or really good. Like he's ready to push a starter. I mean, have you heard that?
No, not really, but also I feel like they might want to be able to preserve that year of eligibility for Minchie, and that means 4 games or less. So, like, I don't know how you balance that out, the desire for him to preserve that year versus if you feel like you got to play a backup, who gives you the best chance to win? You're in a tricky spot. So let's just pray Notre Dame doesn't have to go there at all. That's what I'm hoping for.
I'm just kind of thinking not to be worried about saving a redshirt year on guys if you think they're any good. Because if they're any good, they're really good, like you want them to be, they're probably not going to be here anyways for that 5th year. So
yeah, that's a good point.
I wouldn't worry about it. And you're recruiting high quality guys behind them too. So, I mean, if he's better than Angeli, I think he should be number 2 and get some time in some games and be prepping him for 2024.
Yeah. Do you have a strong feeling on going back into that portal for another transfer guy to fill that gap in 24? Or do you think one of those young guys is going to be ready to step up and we could put a good field on the team and not like drop off and then get that all going early? I don't know what to make of that. I don't know where their development level is.
I kind of think that's something that you can't really see into the future. So you're going to have to see who's available how Minchie's developing, and that kind of. I mean, if someone like Sam Hartman's available, I don't think I'd be against going after another transfer.
Yeah, I just don't know. But what are the odds, though, that you're going to find a guy that's that good, that is interested in you? Like, that works because he's a high-level guy. The decision to make is, what if they're interested in a portal guy, but when they're looking around, there's nobody they love? That's where that gets tricky. That's where the real decision is then. If there's not a guy demonstrably, obviously, that much better, then that becomes a very rough calculation. I don't know how you make that decision.
I think if there's no one you really love, then you go with Minchie and Jelly Carr, and you kind of just have a competition.
Yeah,
and you see where it goes. You know, eventually you're going to have to develop a quarterback and develop an offense. I don't think you can just go to the portal every year for your quarterback. You're going to have to develop somebody.
Yeah, man. Am I getting old, Adam? Like, I'm open to that. Am I getting old to where I still see value in home growing your own guy that you recruit and then they develop and they get comfortable and they're the guy and there's not all these questions about who's it going to be? Maybe we need a portal guy. Like, I find value in that stability, but it has to be linked to a high elite potential guy. I just think that calms things down. You know who the leader is. You know their skill set. You build around them. I want Notre Dame to get there. But if they jump the gun trying to get there, it could tank everything. It's a very tough needle to thread, in my opinion.
So I think you should look at the portal kind of like you look in free agency in the NFL. So where if you have a solid program and good depth and you've recruited well, you should be able to just kind of get portal guys where your needs are. Kind of like how the NFL, if you've drafted well and you have a good roster, you use free agency just for some needs. That's the perfect role. You see these other schools that are, and they've done well, like LSU, TCU, USC. They're flipping entire rosters, but I feel like the longer those programs are on the up, and like Kelly and Lincoln Riley are there, they don't want to go to the portal nonstop. They don't want to get 30 guys. They want to build them. The problem is those teams they were bad when they got there, so they had to go to the portal for a couple of years. It's made it easier for them, but I think in the ideal world with a good program, you just get a couple guys for need.
Yeah. Man, it's just a tough calculation to make. It's just a tough calculation to make. I want Notre Dame to be able to stabilize with their own young homegrown guy. It's got to be the right guy in the right time. I don't know. And I don't want to mess up Carr. That's the one thing you can't do, is put him in a situation before he's ready and then it gets rough on it. This all just has to be navigated the right way. It has to be navigated appropriately. You can't rush it, but you also got to be open that if a guy earns a job, you could do it. And the other thing is, why are we all worried about 24? I got to make sure Hartman stays healthy this year first. Adam, this is going to be bad. Yeah. What's the plan for next year? Say your Irish prayers that he doesn't fall down the stairs? Like, I am really nervous about it. We're in the same messed up spot as we were last year if that happens. This guy has to be in bubble wrap. I'm telling him you don't need that extra 1 yard. Get the hell out of bounds. He's got to stay alive or we're dead.
Yes, he has to stay healthy. He has to stay healthy.
Adam, I think everything. All summer, you ain't doing no jet skiing. You ain't doing no water skiing. I don't even want you golfing. You might throw out your back. I don't want you doing nothing. You got to protect this guy. Yep. It's too important this year.
They're going to have to put him in one of those little bouncy, you ever see those little bouncy, like, ball things that people run?
Yeah. He could get hit by a car and just bounce right off it down the road. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. But, dude, I'm in my head all messed up from Buckner with the stairs. That's the one. I'm never going to get over that, bro. Like I said, I'm worried about him getting hits, running the ball and all that. The stairs defeated him, bro. I can't help you at that point. Like, take the elevator.
Yeah, we just got to hope he stays healthy. I think we'll be okay. Let those Angeli and Minchie learn the backup role, get some reps. And as long as he stays healthy, I think we'll be okay. And then we'll see what happens in 24. Now, 24, we open up at Texas A&M. So that's going to be a hostile environment. So that 2024 quarterback is going to need to be ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's probably not a spot you want to start CJ Carr as a true freshman at Texas A&M. You don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, man, I don't know. Notre Dame world. It's just always it's always something, man. There's just always some like hitch with what we're trying to do, or like whatever we want to do depends on three other things falling exactly right. Like there's so many ways where Notre Dame has such a small margin for error that it's just it blows my mind.
What I really wanted to call about though, and I've been on and off the show today, so if you cover this, I'm sorry, but the TV contract. Are you hearing anything like they're looking at other partners, or is that just something you kind of like wishful thinking from the fans?
I don't know. I don't know. Like it came, we talked about it earlier with, what Notre Dame's asking for, where that $75 million falls compared to like the Big Ten and SEC payouts and all that. And then other people were saying, go to ESPN, let them get you since they lost some of their programming. Do that. Like, I don't know, but I'm fine wherever Notre Dame can get a deal that pays them enough to stay competitive with the Big Ten payouts. Rutgers getting 90, us getting 20. I don't think so.
Yeah, so the ESPN is going to be mainly they put all their money into the SEC. So SEC is leaving CBS 100%. But then the Big Ten isn't part of their deal. CBS too. It's like CBS, Fox, and NBC, right?
Well, I
think it's all three.
So who would be bidding for Notre Dame then? Like I don't even know exactly who would be in the ring for that. Like, is that something ESPN wants, or CBS, since they lost one of their big, like, I don't know who would be in that mix that would be interested. Dude, I might be open to I might be open to a whole new product delivery. We're all used to NBC Notre Dame. I might be open to something more new and modern. Not on the Peacock, on an actual channel. Not on that cock. Give me a channel.
Yeah, I think I think it just got worse over the years with NBC.
It has gotten worse.
CBS and I think it's horrible. I don't see many games. I'm usually at the games, but when you rewatch some stuff, I'm like, oh my God, this broadcast is terrible.
Yeah.
I mean,
bro,
I know, Jack Collinsworth, he's an ND guy, but I think he's awful.
Bro, there's no gravitas. You don't feel like something important is going on. And when you are the one paying to promote your product exclusively on that channel, I think it's kind of like a part of your end of the deal that you have to make this seem like it's as big of a deal as possible every week. The current booth puts me to sleep. There's no excitement, no nothing. I can't even hear them. When I rewatched the Clemson game, I couldn't even almost hear what they were saying. There's just no gravity to it at all that tells me something big's going on here.
John, I think CBS would be in on the mix, because if you can remember they kicked Alabama, LSU off their prime time to put Notre Dame, Georgia on.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what else, too? There's some history there, too.
People were in outrage. They were in outrage, the SEC people. Like, how could you possibly do that? And it was all just to have Notre Dame. And so I think they would really be in play and want that deal.
Hey, I'm all for bid up a competition here. Let's get a couple different groups there and then see what's going on. I don't know, but I just want Notre Dame to be, I just need Notre Dame to be competitive, Adam. They don't need to make as money as each team in the Big Ten or the SEC. They don't need to do that. It just has to be in the ballpark. It has to be close enough that you can compete. That's what they're going for. Whoever offers that, as long as I don't have to have an app, then I'm fine with.
Or would you be open to, quit screwing around with all these contracts and just
Create your own network.
10.
Create your own network, Adam. Why can't they got the Longhorn Network? Why don't we have the Always Irish freaking network? Why can't we do that,
John,
Adam? Always Irish Network. You have the other sports on. You have private programming just for it. You give me my own show on there streaming. Now we're cooking. Build our own Texas network.
Well, I've heard that Longhorn Network was actually failing, and that's one of the main reasons why Texas is joining the SEC is because the ESPN was forking over the money for that Longhorn Network, and that's kind of like a deal to come together to get rid of that thing.
Yeah, well, didn't they say, oh, we got all the Texas oil money, whatever. What happened to that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But if anybody...
I don't think people were really watching. ESPN wanted it gone, so ESPN was pretty much merging with the SEC about getting Texas in with their whole group so they could get the Longhorn Network gone. That's kind of was the idea behind that.
Yeah.
Or you don't even mess around and you just say, something, independence was our thing for a long time, but it's just time to join the Big Ten. I mean, I don't really have a strong opinion on it, but if you're going to get $90 million a year and now USC's in the conference, maybe Stanford comes with you, all your rivalries are in the conference, you make $90 million.
Yeah, and you have better access to the playoff with you would have the ability to have that bye. You would have everything you pretty much want. And the kicker's USC. That was always the kicker. Having them join, that's a big thing for a lot of people. So if it ever had to go that way, we would join the Big Ten, make a ton of money, and have almost a rivalry game every damn week. I won't complain about that. My number one preference is for Notre Dame to win it as an independent. I want to be perfectly clear that that's the number one goal, us to win a title again our way as an independent so it feels genuine to me the old way. If we absolutely had to do it this way, then that's the next best thing. It would be exciting. Every week would be a rivalry almost.
Yeah. The only thing, I might be completely wrong on this. Do you feel like our recruiting kind of uptick kind of in like the Carolinas, in the Southeast, once we kind of were doing the half ACC schedule, like getting kind of down there a little bit?
Yeah, and that does make sense too. And then getting into those areas more. And it's just tricky though. It's tricky though.
Down there a little more.
Yeah, but it gets tricky because the further south you go, the more games get played and it's harder to navigate down there. And there's some doors that don't open for Notre Dame down there. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, man. Once you get the further south, the more weird it gets. Just ask Kelly.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I wouldn't care either way. If they decided to join, it wouldn't bother. I wouldn't be an outrage.
Yeah,
but I'm okay with them if they can get a deal from CBS or NBC or whoever who wants to pay. Even if Fox wanted to pay them, who knows? But they can't keep on making a quarter of the money that it seems.
And they know that.
They can't do that.
They know that. So they'll figure it out. But they know where that money falls. They know they can't afford to fall that far behind. And so you got to hope that the people negotiating on Notre Dame's behalf are doing so with a short, medium, and long-term view of all this. It's a very important decision, and I really want to see what it's going to be. So I don't know, Adam. It's going to be interesting. I'm open to a change. Whoever's willing to pay, let's go. As long as it's on TV and you don't have to make me get on my phone to watch a dumb game.
I hear on that, John. Yeah, I would not care if it was CBS. I think would be perfect. We could be their main. Now that they lost the SEC, we could be Notre Dame on CBS. If NBC doesn't want to take us serious, let's go somewhere else.
Dude, I like that little vintage CBS intro into a Notre Dame game. I like that. I'm not going to complain about that. I think that'd be sweet.
John, didn't they have CBS in the Holtz era sometime?
I remember some of those games, the intros being on CBS in the late 80s. I remember some of that. I think I'm not misremembering that it was like CBS. I remember that. Maybe some people a little older than us will know exactly, but I seem to remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember, but
it'll be interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you go, John. But
all right.
yeah,
Hey, Adam, we got to meet up at the Lighthouse, right? Equidistant for you in Indiana towards Illinois line. I'll come from the Illinois line over there. It's not that far. So we need to meet up there, have a couple drinks. Let's do it this summer.
Yeah, definitely. For sure, John. We'll talk.
Beautiful. Have a good day, man. Don't work too hard out there.
All right. We'll talk to you. See you
later.
Bye.
Oh, man. Real Irish, 19. By the way, Adam, great guy. Help with the tailgate. Wife donates money on dares in the super chat. I mean, I love the family. I'm not going to lie. Real Irish, 1988. Why do people think it's Angeli? I think it's that just because he's been around longer, I guess. Isn't that why? I don't have a reason of like, I've seen him play and here's what he does versus this guy. I don't have that. But he's just been around longer, so you think there's more development and stability there. And then also some people think you don't want to use Minchie's, you don't want to blow that year. You don't want to blow that red shirt. So that's another reason why some people would lean that way. So that's why I would think it's Angeli, because he's been around longer and they don't want to burn that red shirt. But what do I know? I don't know nothing. Oh, boy. Where's my mouse? What the hell is this? Can't even find it. I highlighted a couple things I wanted to mention. Check this out. John is Tony Roberts 2.0. I'm going to tell you guys, if you're younger than me, I would say, if you're young, I am right about the cutoff for a lot of this Notre Dame stuff. As far as like being too young to actually remember us winning things and being proud, I'm way too young. I don't know what that feels like. All I do is walk around with 38 years of scar tissue. But if you're younger than me, I invite you, I implore you, I beg you, if you love Notre Dame and you're younger than me, go to YouTube, type in Tony Roberts, Notre Dame, the Rocket, Michigan returns, Pat Terrell batting the ball down, the Florida State game, Harry Oliver's kick. Look up, seek out Tony Roberts, Notre Dame football radio calls. There's nothing like it. Those velvety, slightly rough Irish pipes, there's nothing like it. It's class, it's gravitas, it's being good at your job, but favoring Notre Dame at the same time. It's that energy. There was a little bit of Gus, but before Gus, and it wasn't like a character or an act. It was just the right tone at the right. Timmy Brown. The afterburners are on. Bye, baby. Every little thing was just perfect. Tony Roberts just had it. You were listening to the radio, but the game came to life in your mind because of him. Just look it up. It'll give you goosebumps. Just the little things he said. Like the Rocket, the afterburners are on. He's gone. That is just a beautiful, just one-liner. All of it. The way he used to call Timmy Brown. Gives me goosebumps. Look it up if you're younger and you don't know this guy. That was the voice of Notre Dame football when we won stuff. Actually good. John, what are your feelings for the uniform brand? I jokingly put, go back to champion old school. Here's my real thought. I got a problem with Under Armour in a lot of ways. The cost versus quality of the product is one of them. And I guess it's kind of lame of me to be going against Under Armour while I'm wearing an Under Armour Notre Dame product as we speak. However, a lot of people paying a lot of money for this Notre Dame Under Armour stuff. Like the letters come off when they wash it. It's not durable, blah, 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 blah. But here's my number one concern with the uniform brand is the cleats. It has nothing to do with how it looks or whatever else. My number one complaint is the cleats. When they do the research on this, they're finding teams that have Under Armour shoe deals have more lower body injuries than teams that don't. by a statistical outlier that is noticeable. Okay? That's a big deal to me. I don't like that math. I don't like that science. And it wasn't like just an independent group studying physiological whatever at one of these universities pulled all that data. More guys are getting hurt in Under Armour than Nike, Adidas, whatever else is out there. That's my biggest issue. As a fan, I could debate what I want things to look like or whatever, but our team being a one piece is number one. So when I see the science and the data telling me Under Armour guys are getting hurt more, that's a reason right there to look into it. So I don't know. Here's another one. Brian says, John, I know you want out of the portal, but if Dante wanted to transfer, you'd tell him to come. No. Yes. Like, this is very one-off, Brian. It's very one-off. Obviously, if you have a guy that's like the top guy in the portal that's interested, like Hartman or Williams at USC or whoever that is next year, yeah, then I'm totally fine with that. If it's a guy head and shoulders above what you know you have in the room and they're not ready yet. But it's got to be that. I don't want to waste a year. I don't want to waste a year if it's close. And then we get a transfer guy and I'm getting production I could have got out of the other guy. Let's just get it going then with the development then. So it's got to be the right guy. I just think, put it this way. How many years in a row do you think Notre Dame is going to get the top transfer quarterback? Like, I don't think that's very realistic that's going to happen a lot. So it's got to be a high-level guy. But yeah, that's what I would do. Bring back that champion. Bring me back that little C. I remember the commercials. I remember our guys wearing them, the old 80 cutoff, Zorich with the cutoff champion. Bring it back, baby. Bring it back. It always makes me smile when people wear that stuff like vintage and I see that champion. It just brings my mind back to old school Notre Dame being a kid. Oh, man. I'm telling you, Under Armour, the pricing is unbelievable. You go in the bookstore, oh, this golf polo looks good. Oh, what's that? $200 for a golf shirt? Yeah, no thanks. I don't love it that much. I'm not kidding you. That one polo I have, like the yellow camo looking one that's start with the ND, 169 plus tax, I think. Now, very high quality shirt, like high quality moisture wicking golf polo, like very high quality, but bro, $200 for a shirt. Better offer me a lot of comfort I'm wearing. Tell you that. Unbelievable. I want Gus Johnson. Yeah, Gus gets yelly. As somebody who's quite excitable myself, I do see the appeal to Gus hitting that high pitch. I'm going to tell you, Chris Fowler's the one that can't do it. Chris Fowler's yelly voice is so annoying that it's just absolutely garbage. I can't handle it. When Chris Fowler tries to hit that high pitch, it don't come out right. And again, maybe some of that's my bias from when the guy has never been more excited. And I mean that in every single way possible when I say Fowler's never been more excited in his life than last year when Notre Dame was playing USC. The guy couldn't contain himself in the booth. Unbelievable. Dude, seriously, like, put it away. We understand you love USC and your boss has told you to push this narrative. We get it. Tone it down, buddy. Tone it down. Oh, boy. All right, folks. 2 hours and 15 minutes. I think that's going to be the show for today. I am going to get done with this, and I am going to go in the other room, and I have something I'm editing together that I think you guys are really going to like. Something some people have asked for a while, but it just takes a while to do that I got. And it's going to take me some work. I got a few hours of just editing to do, but I'm coming up with something I think you guys are really going to like. Wait a second. What did somebody just say here? What is this? Where was that? Come on. Oh, there it is. They need to go with the Jordan brand. The thing with that is Here's number one is I'm predisposed to not like the Jordan brand. Not because of Michael Jordan, me growing up a Chicago kid. That's the only time I love basketball is because our team won every year. But I don't like that Michigan is the first thing I think of when I see that brand logo now. I think of them. I hate that. I absolutely really hate that. But if you want to talk about NIL power, being able to have that kind of wielding that brand and use that, some of that as some leverage, that's an interesting angle. Here's the other thing, though, and I mean this. This is going to come out really weird, but I mean it sincerely and jokingly. Does Notre Dame want to go with Jordan brand and have that Jordan logo competing with Jesus and touchdown Jesus? Like, in a lot of ways, that's the signal. That's your guy. You see the jump, man, and it's Jordan. Does Notre Dame really want touchdown Jesus to compete with Jordan for the attention of a guy outstretched with his arms up? Do we really want that competition? I mean, I know that's a weird way to look at it, but in case you guys haven't noticed it, I'm a weird guy, so I look at things that way. I don't know. It's just something I thought about. Or maybe we could change. We could have another touchdown Jesus, and it's Jordan with his thing doing the whole logo. I don't know. Oh, man. All right, guys, that's going to be it. Really fun show. A lot of energy. Thank you for everybody that donated, all of the chatters. We are finding new people to this show. Momentum is growing. I think when we do shows on different days and nights, it reaches a different group of people, and then they join when they can. I want this format to gain momentum, and I want us to build it all summer. And then when we get into the season, we got a big group of people with a lot of opinions and a lot of back and forth. That's my goal for this. So all summer, week by week, we're going to build this group and become a force for Notre Dame. Okay. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for the kind words and the calls and the donations and all that. I'm going to edit something you're really going to like. Have a good one.